Now let's return to one of our top stories, which is the aftermath of the attack on the Heaton Park Synagogue in Manchester. We can cross live to my colleague Anita McVeigh, who's there for us. And Anita, we've just had an update from the police. What can you tell us?
Yes, just in the last few moments, the news from Greater Manchester Police, who say that one of the victims, so one of the men killed yesterday here at the Heaton Park Synagogue, which is just not very far along the road behind me, was hit by police gunfire as they attempted to bring the attacker under control. So one of the victims who was killed was hit by police gunfire. My colleague Danny Savage is with me now and can tell us more about what Greater Manchester Police have been saying. Danny.
Yeah, Anita, this is coming a statement from Greater Manchester Police in the last few minutes. And just to give you a sort of bit more detail of that, they're saying that a Home Office pathologist has advised that he has provisionally determined that one of the deceased victims would appear to have suffered a wound consistent with a gunshot injury. It's currently believed that the suspect, Jihad Al-Shamie, was not in possession of a firearm, and the only shots fired were by the GMP police officers who were working to prevent the offender from entering the synagogue and causing further harm to the Jewish community. It follows, therefore, that subject to further forensic examination, this injury may sadly have been sustained as a tragic and unforeseen consequence of the urgently required action taken by officers to bring the vicious attack to an end. We've also been advised by medical professionals that one of the three victims currently being treated in hospital also suffered a gunshot wound, which is mercifully not life-threatening. It's believed that both victims were close together behind the synagogue door as worshippers acted bravely to prevent the attacker from gaining entry. It goes on to say our thoughts and prayers remain with all the families. So there was this was alluded to a little bit last night.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
yes.
In that statement initially from Greater Manchester Police last night, saying that one of the people who was injured appears to have suffered an injury sustained perhaps from the response by the police officers at the time. What is obviously very tragic and new, what's come out from that this morning, is that actually one of the people who died in the attack yesterday, in the incident more broadly, was a victim with a gunshot wound as well, from perhaps a ricochet or something. Well, we don't know, but you know, shots.
Obviously, that's going to be the subject of intense investigation.
But we know from eyewitnesses yesterday there were a couple of bursts of gunfire at the time. First burst of gunfire brought the man to the ground. He then, according to eyewitnesses, tried to get up again, and there was a second volley of shots then, which stopped him permanently. So we know there were quite a few shots fired at the time by at least two armed police officers that responded very quickly. We know it was all over within 7 minutes yesterday. Very fast response from police, and it seems that this was as it says in the police statement from Greater Manchester Police, a tragic consequence of that fast response was somebody being hit as a result of those shots being fired, who wasn't the perpetrator of the attack.
Obviously very shocking news on top of the shock of this attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, people are coming to terms with the fact that it happens, but then to find out that they were killed in effectively, not the crossfire necessarily, wherever those shots were fired, bullets could have bounced off in any direction. We know, I'm not a ballistics expert, some people, but those experts will be looking at that to see how exactly that all came about, what happened. But it was a very fast-moving situation. It was all happening very quickly yesterday.
What else can you tell us about the status of the police investigation at this point, Danny? I believe searches have been continuing at a property close to here.
Yeah, searches have been continuing at a property close to here. We've also had searches at an address in Prestwich, which is a few miles from here as well. So two properties were investigated by police during the day yesterday and the evening as well. 3 arrests were made. 2 men in their 30s, a woman in her 60s were arrested and detained on suspicion of terrorism charges. So they're being held in custody at the moment. So those investigations are ongoing. We've of course had the 2 victims named this morning, and so we know who they are now. We're waiting to see if any of their relatives or people who know them will comment about that.
Yes,
and also we've had
Adrian Daulby, 53, and Melvin Cravitz, who was 66.
Yeah, so those two victims, the two victims of what happened, has been named, and we've had the Prime Minister here this morning as well.
Yes, actually, Danny, let me interrupt you because
Sure.
we have some pictures. I'll give you a chance to catch up on the latest lines coming into us from Greater Manchester Police, but we have received some pictures in the last short while of Sir Keir Starmer and his wife, Lady Victoria, who herself is Jewish, visiting the Heaton Park Synagogue, images of them shaking hands with police officers there who continue to guard the scene just a short way away from where we are standing. And we heard those initial comments from Sir Keir Starmer yesterday, who flew back from Denmark early from a security conference there, a security summit there, to chair a meeting of COBRA, the Security Cabinet. And he said that the UK would put its arms around the Jewish community. And then we heard more from the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, speaking to the BBC earlier today, and she said that she did not want the Jewish community in the UK to feel that it somehow had to lead a smaller Jewish life as a result of what had happened here yesterday, and that she would be having conversations with leaders from the community to talk about security and what more needs to be done. But talking to Jewish leaders here today and just reflecting on what some of them have said to me, one from the Jewish Leadership Council told me that security at synagogues and at Jewish schools and community centres is what he called the normalisation of anti-Semitism in the UK. He said it shouldn't be that way, for example, that children going to Jewish schools have to walk past security guards every day, which doesn't happen at other schools here, does it? So yet he recognises that certainly for the foreseeable future, there is that need to increase security. So those conversations are going on. He said the resilience of the Jewish community is being tested at this time.